James was 4 years old when he was sitting on his dad's lap after a hurricane. His dad hugs him and says, "You are such a good son." And the kid looks up and says, "That's why I picked you. I knew you would be good parents." His dad thinks, okay, cute thing to say, kids say weird stuff. But then he entertains it by asking, "Where did you find us?" James, the kid, says, "A big pink hotel in Hawaii." And the dad asks, "What were we doing when you picked us?" "You were having dinner on the beach at night." And the dad goes pale, because 5 years earlier, he and his wife celebrated their wedding anniversary at the Royal Hawaiian. It's this coral pink hotel in Honolulu. And guess what? They had dinner on the beach at night. They had never talked about this in front of James. The trip happened before the mom even got pregnant. There was literally no way for this kid to know that. And that was just the beginning. Today, we're going to explore one of the most interesting and controversial questions in consciousness research. What if your mind was here before you were born? I know how that sounds, but stick with me, because what we're actually talking about isn't mysticism. It's decades-long scientific research programs, thousands of documented cases, and peer-reviewed studies, and evidence that even skeptics have called, and I'm quoting here, data that cannot be ignored. Let's go back to James. His full name is James Leininger. He was born in 1998 in Louisiana, and from basically the moment he could talk, he was obsessed with airplanes. But not in the normal toddler way, in a highly specific, detailed, historically accurate way. At 2 years old, he started having nightmares. He would scream and thrash, waking up in terror. His parents would run in and he'd say, "Airplane crash, on fire, little man can't get out." He told them that he was an American pilot, that his plane was shot down by the Japanese. His parents thought it was just a bad dream, but then the details started getting oddly specific. He named the carrier from which his plane flew, the USS Natoma Bay. He also named the fellow pilot who was on the ship with him, Jack Larson. And he said that the pilot who died was named James. James McCready Houston Jr. Bruce Leininger, again the boy's father, was skeptic by nature, so he started digging. And he found that James McCready Houston Jr. was a real person, a real World War II pilot who really did fly from the USS Natoma Bay and who was really shot down by the Japanese and who did really die. The details that James, the kid, described at age 2 checked out one by one. Even more interesting is that James knew Houston's nickname for his sister, a private nickname only her deceased brother had used, and Houston's surviving family members later confirmed it. Dr. Jim Tucker, a psychiatrist at the University of Virginia who investigated and published this case in 2016, wrote, "On the face of it, the most obvious explanation for this connection is that he experienced life as James Houston Jr. before having his current one. The facts in this case indicate that this explanation warrants serious consideration." I want to make it clear, this wasn't published in some fringe newsletter. Tucker is a professor of psychiatry and neurobehavioral sciences and director of the Division of Perceptual Studies at the University of Virginia, one of the most respected consciousness research programs in the world. And the thing is that there's a lot more. You might be thinking, okay, one interesting, maybe slightly compelling story. It could be a coincidence. It could be that the parents subconsciously planted it without realizing. It could be a lot of things, and you'd be right to push back. But here's what makes this a scientific conversation and not just a mystical story. James Leininger is one of thousands of cases. Dr. Ian Stevenson spent over 30 years doing exactly what good science requires: systematic, documented, replicable investigation. Stevenson was chairman of the Department of Psychiatry and Neurology at the University of Virginia. He was not a fringe figure. He started out skeptical himself. He entered a contest to analyze 44 people with past life memories. His paper eventually won first place. But what he found surprised him enough that he dedicated the rest of his career to it. He eventually collected and documented over 2,500 cases of children worldwide who claimed to remember past lives across India, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Lebanon, Thailand, North America, South America, and Europe. One of his published studies looked at 856 of these cases specifically. 67% were marked as solved, meaning that the researchers identified a real deceased person whose life and death details matched what the child described. Dr. Lester S. King reviewed Stevenson's work in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and wrote that Stevenson has placed on record a large amount of data that cannot be ignored. Even Carl Sagan, the skeptic, the guy who was a founding member of the Committee for the Scientific Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal, debunking pseudoscience, wrote in his book, The Demon-Haunted World, there are 3 claims in the ESP field which, in my opinion, deserve serious study. The third was, quote, that young children sometimes report details of a previous life which upon checking turn out to be accurate and which they could not have known about in any other way than reincarnation. So I'm trying to convince you that this is not tinfoil hat territory. We're more in the this needs to be explained territory. Let me tell you about the case that caught the attention of Gandhi. Shanti Devi was born in Delhi in 1926. By the time she was 3, she was describing vivid memories of a previous life of a woman named Lugdi who had lived in Mathura, 162 kilometers away. Her parents ignored it at first, but she kept insisting she wanted to go back to Mathura. She said that she wanted to see her husband, a man named Kedar Nath. Eventually, her family tracked down Nath, who was a real person. He visited Delhi, not knowing what to expect. And when he walked through the door, this 9-year-old girl correctly identified him. She was able to name the relatives and describe the inside of their house. She even pointed to a corner of a room she had never been in, and said she had buried money there. So they dug. They found a locked case, but it was empty. Devi said, "I left money there," and eventually Nath admitted that he had found the money after his wife's death, and he had taken it. The story was big enough that Gandhi personally intervened. He set up a formal committee of 15 people, lawyers, journalists, politicians, to investigate. They confirmed she had never left Delhi. They took her to Mathura, where she correctly identified Nath's house and her father-in-law's house, and she described its layout. The committee published a 26-page report in 1936. Their conclusion was that Shanti Devi was the rebirth of Lugdi. Stevenson later verified at least 24 of her claims independently. Once you have thousands of cases, patterns start to emerge, and the patterns are hard to dismiss. Pattern 1 is the age window. Stevenson found that past life memories in children almost always arise between the ages of 2 and 4, and they typically fade, often completely, by the age of 7 or 8, which is exactly when our autobiographical memory systems fully solidify. The timing is consistent across cultures. Pattern 2 is the accuracy. These children aren't vague. They don't say things like, "I was someone important in a past life." They're able to name specific people, specific places, specific events. And they're right, often up to 90% accurate. And pattern 3, unlearned skills. A 2021 systematic review analyzed 78 observational studies and found that 23% of children with past life memories display skills they had never been taught in their current life. For example, with Shanti Devi, she was able to spontaneously speak the local dialect of Mathura, a language she had never learned. Pattern 4, which is a little weird, is a birthmark evidence. This one is the hardest to explain away. In a study of 895 children with past life memories, Stevenson found that 35% had unusual birthmarks or congenital defects that corresponded to wounds from the life they described. And when he had post-mortem reports or medical records to check against, the match rate was 88%. And I want to emphasize, Stevenson was known for his strict methodologies. For instance, he writes, quote, "I did not accept any indicated mark as a birthmark, unless a first-hand witness assured me that it had been noticed immediately after the child's birth, or at most, within a few weeks." For example, one Turkish boy was born with a severely malformed right ear. He described being shot in the right side of his skull in a previous life. Stevenson located the previous life and confirmed the cause of death through hospital records. Okay, let's steelman the other side. The main alternative explanations that researchers have put forward are false memories, parental influence, and cultural conditioning. False memories are a real phenomenon. Our minds do confabulate. But the thing about false memories is that they tend to be fussy, inconsistent, and uncorroborated. These cases produce specific, verifiable details that hold up to cross-checking. A 2007 study in the Journal of Scientific Exploration raised the false memory hypothesis. But the researchers acknowledged it can't account for cases where the child's statements are confirmed against independent records. Then we have parental influence. Could parents be inadvertently feeding children these stories? Well, Stevenson specifically looked at this. He found that 28% of mothers were actively discouraging their children's past life talk, and 51% were neutral. The stories weren't coming from enthusiastic parents who wanted to believe. And the last one is cultural conditioning. This one's the easiest to check. If past life memories were just a product of Buddhist or Hindu cultural environments, you'd only find them in Asia, but Stevenson documented cases across North America and Europe, and a 2021 systematic review confirmed that this is a cross-cultural phenomenon. So what do we actually make of all of this? Ian Stevenson's colleague, Dr. Emily Kelly, wrote in the BMJ in 2007, quote, "Stevenson believed the evidence was sufficient to permit a reasonable person to believe in reincarnation," unquote. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not here to sell you a cosmology. That's not what this channel is for, but I'll tell you what I think is undeniable. There's a body of systematic, peer-reviewed, cross-cultural evidence spanning thousands of cases and more than 30 years of rigorous research that something is happening with these children that our current models of consciousness cannot fully explain. These kids describe people they've never met, places they've never been, and speak languages they've never learned. Some of them even carry physical marks that match wounds from lives they shouldn't know about. And then, somewhere around age 7, they forget. The river of consciousness, if that's what it is, seems to carry more than we think. Memories, personality, physical traits, it flows from one body to the next. And by the time we're old enough to ask questions, the current life has washed most of it away. If this episode made you think or made you uncomfortable in a good way, share it with someone. These are the conversations worth having. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. As a biologist and health journalist, I've spent a lot of time thinking about life, how the body works, what keeps us going, how fragile and incredible the whole thing is. And the more I learned about life, the more I wondered, what happens when it ends? I'm Makai, and I host a new documentary called Final Hours. This film is all about answering that question. I went looking for answers the way I was trained to, science first, then philosophy. Both gave me a lot, but neither gave me everything. So, I wanted to make a film that doesn't choose. Final Hours is both science and philosophy. It's data and storytelling. It's contemplation and beauty. At the center of it are people who, by every definition, were dead. But then they came back, something called a near-death experience, something that is unexplainable, but as I found out, holds answers to our deepest questions. So I sat with them and I listened. I didn't shy away from the uncomfortable questions, and they didn't shy away from the answers. And after long travels and even longer conversations, I'm honestly not the same person I was when I started filming. Why? Well, the things these people shared with me have made me think more carefully about how I spend my time and how I treat other people. The implications of what these people experienced on the other side are profound, and they're profound for all of us, including you. It doesn't matter what background you have, where you live, or what you believe. I promise you, you will find something in this film that speaks to you. And I really hope you'll watch with curiosity, holding in your mind the questions humans have been asking forever. What is this life actually for? And what waits on the other side? Don't be afraid to ask the big questions. Watch Final Hours. The full documentary is linked below.
We collided at very high speeds.
What happens after death?
There was really no way that you could muster a dream or hallucination out of that brain.
As the surgical team kind of gets ready to operate on me, that energy in the room shifted.
The next thing I knew, I had left my body. I looked up behind the surgeons, and there were these huge light beams.
It's a place that was very kind of primitive, coarse. It was like being underground in dirty jello. I cried out, "God, help me."
In the flash of just a second.
It was a world of perfection.
I was shuttled into this life review.
I saw this vision of what I was meant to do.
He says, "I know that you died full of this regret. I'm here to offer you that second chance. But if I give you this offer, you have to make sure that the next time you die, you're ready for it."
I heard my dad say to me, "Now that you know the truth, go back and live your life fearlessly."